Yes, it's clear.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So I think you can hear me now.
Yes, absolutely. Dr. Zafi, your background is inverted, so if you can please correct it.
Yeah, just a second.
Sure.
Is this better now?
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are. And welcome to the second live session of the ChatGPT Essentials Bootcamp organized by Adaptex Academy. My name is Rawal, and I'll be moderating today's session. It's great to see such enthusiastic participants joining us once again. And a quick announcement for those participants who have joined, have registered, but you have not yet enrolled. Kindly enroll yourself in one of the three courses that we have on our website. And also you can access all the recordings of the live sessions in case if you missed it or if you like to rewatch it. And I would like to give a brief introduction that this session is a part of AI capacity building for workforce transformation and digital readiness initiative under AI Opportunity Fund Asia Pacific with support from Google and Asian Development Bank. And we at Adaptex Hub at Asian Institute of Technology are the local training provider to implement this project. Today's session focuses on improving your write-ups using AI with real-world use cases. Here we will explore AI, particularly ChatGPT, how it can help you write better emails, how you can summarize your text, how you can write professional documents while improving the clarity, tone, and the flow. So yeah, so before we move ahead, I would like to take a moment to appreciate our participants, especially those who have joined us in the previous session last week and have joined us again today. Thank you so much for your commitment and consistency to the learning. Your continued presence truly reflect your interest in building AI practical skills. And to those who are joining us first time, I would like to welcome you all. And in our previous session, that was Prompt Like a Pro, we focused on how to communicate effectively with AI by crafting better prompts and understanding how AI responds. And actually, that session laid the today's foundation for today's topic, and where we will apply those prompting skills that we learned in the last session directly to real world writing tasks. So whether you are a returning participant or you are joining us fresh today, you are in the right place. And before we begin, just few housekeeping points. Please keep your microphones muted during the session, and you are welcome to write down your questions, your chat in the chat box. We will have time for the questions and discussion toward the end. And this session we will be recording for the attendance and the quality purposes. So thank you for your cooperation. So now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, especially for our new participants. Dr. Zafi Sharhan Sayed is an AI expert with a PhD from Cardiff University, UK. He has an extensive experience in applying artificial intelligence and machine learning in real-world use cases, especially in the field of education, productivity, and digital transformation. So we are honored to have you once again with us, sir. Dr. Zafi will now guide us through today's session, focusing on how AI can practically improve your everyday writing skills. So please feel free to write down your questions. We will come back to them later. And so let's begin. Over to you, Dr. Zafi.
Thank you very much, Rawal. And hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. I am Dr. Zafi Sayed. I'm a computer scientist. And in this session, uh, we are going to talk about how artificial intelligence could be used to improve your productivity in a write up context. So, our focus for today is going to be simple: how AI can support clearer thinking and better writing without replacing you and your expertise and your judgment. So, the author would still be you. We want to use AI where you're still the author, but we still want to enhance the productivity in our write up. So the capacity building program is designed around different contexts, different cohorts, because artificial intelligence is really not a one size fits all thing. So whether you're a student, whether you're from the education workforce, or if you're a healthcare professional, there's always something that we need to write about. For students, it could be a new idea or a new project they want to write. For education workforce, it could be the content that they create for students, perhaps in the form of a teaching plan or a project description that they want to hand out. For healthcare professionals, they may want to write up information leaflets. Let's say if it's a new viral infection or some other disease and they want to communicate information effectively, it's always a good idea to have someone sanity check it. So in this session, the focus would be on looking at some tips and tricks that would work across all these three cohorts. Now, even though there are three cohorts, each three cohorts would have the same five modules. And they would start from the basics of AI concepts and gradually move towards more effective and responsible use. So if you've not registered for it, identify what cohort is more suitable for you and you can register for it. You'd find bespoke training for the cohort that you belong to. Now, at its core, AI is a software that learns patterns from data and uses those patterns to make predictions or generate content. It is important to remember that isn't really thinking, even though it may seem to be that way. AI is not really thinking the way that human beings do or the way that human beings understand. And it's just simply very good at recognizing patterns and producing useful outputs based on those patterns. Now, in some sense, this is very useful. In another sense, there is a possibility that AI is not recognizing the patterns the way that we would like it to. And therefore, human judgment and human input is actually quite important. So we already had traditional automation and now we have artificial intelligence. It's useful to differentiate between the two and where AI can help us at places where traditional automation has a roadblock. So traditional automation follows fixed rules. If this happens, then do that every time without learning. But what happens if we encounter a scenario that wasn't encountered before? So if else cases would not really work there. So traditional automation may not work in cases which are previously unknown scenarios. But this is where artificial intelligence can actually help in because it works differently. Artificial intelligence would recognize data, it would analyze data, it would learn from examples in the data, and then adapt its output accordingly. So you can think of different scenarios, even if we did not see them before and there were no rules developed for them, just by learning from the data, it can come up with its own rules. Now, of course, there is a question that whether those rules would be accurate or not, but at least there would be something to work with. And just by having some input from AI, one can adapt those rules so that we get the output that is desired. Now, within AI as well, there are two different characteristics, and they're actually quite distinct. The first one is predictive AI. Predictive AI focuses on analyzing data to make decisions or classifications. So, for example, if we are receiving emails, then predictive AI would be able to sort the email as a spam uh, and then send it over to the spam folder. In a similar way, if you're searching something on YouTube and we've searched for something, it would recommend us which video to watch next. We also see predictive AI in search results. When we search something on Google, it's not just one thing we have a categorized list of different things that we may be interested in. Generative AI is slightly different. So generative AI learn patterns, and then its main focus is on creating new content. So we've all used ChatGPT or Gemini, so we know that it can generate text, but generative AI can also generate images. You can provide it a prompt and it will generate that image for you, or at least it will try to generate what you desire based on the data that was provided to it, and it learned from that data. AI is getting better at music generation as well as video generation. And we've all seen videos on some or another platform which has been generated by AI. The quality of videos is as such that we can still tell whether it's a video captured by a human being in real world environments or whether it's AI generation. Now, a helpful way to intelligence is as a smarter version of the autocomplete that you may have on your phone. We start by typing in a sentence, and the AI will suggest possible continuations. So we should always think of AI as an assistant rather than an author. And that's really important for us. So AI should be seen as a helper, not as a decision maker. It can draft, it can summarize, and we can also use AI to organize information. But at the end of the day, the responsibility for accuracy and final decisions will still lie with the human user. So we can use AI to organize a very large document, but whether, and for example, it may have lots of numbers and figures, the responsibility that AI has summarized and organized those statistics correctly lies with the human user. And this is something that we would like to focus on a fair bit. Here's a short list of tools where we could use AI. So for example, we can use AI in writing communication. We can use AI for planning and scheduling. We can use AI for organizing information. Additionally, we could also use AI to generate options for us. And this is something that we'll focus on in this session, especially in terms of brainstorming. We can also use AI in a learning and research context where we ask it to explain concepts and summarize materials. Now, there is a simple work loop for artificial intelligence, which I would encourage you to follow. So, and the reason why we do this is because it has to be safe approach as well. So for example, we provide input to the AI. The AI would generate a draft. We can look at the draft and review it. And at the end of the day, we can then finalize it. Now, it's important to remember that the review step is essential. It's where human judgment, context, responsibility come back in the context. So we can use AI in order to generate a draft, in order to brainstorm for us, but we still need to review it. We shouldn't be just presenting it as it is. Now, as you know, there are many tools that are available which are based on artificial intelligence. And it's often useful to categorize them so that we know for which application, which type of tool needs to be used. The first most popular type is, of course, chat assistants, ChatGPT being one of them. But Gemini is a very good option as well. It is from Google, and essentially it's a very powerful chat assistant. Then we have artificial intelligence, which is more based on the workspace that we use. So there are AI tools that can be integrated into Google Docs, Google Sheets, as well as Gmail. There are some AI tools which are very good at handling documents and organizing information that is within those documents. Arguably, the best example is Notebook LM. And then there are tools which are for creating multimedia content, for example, Canva or Gamma. Now, each tool has its strengths and weaknesses. So we need to ensure that we choose a tool that suits our task the best. It's also important to remember that we need to use tools that are approved as per the institutional policy. So some tools may not be permitted, and that's something that you need to find out. So chat assistants are the most popular type of AI tool that we use, and they're especially useful at the early stages of work. So for example, creating first drafts, improving clarity, or breaking down complex ideas. Tools like ChatGPT and Gemini act as our versatile partners that helps us think, write, refine faster. And of course, by doing this, we still follow the simple rule where we have to review the output from the chat assistants. Now let's move towards the task at hand, how we can use AI for improving writing. Now the goal, of course, is that we go from some idea that we may have to an end result which is more or less polished task. So we're going to talk about how AI can help us improve our writing, but we don't want to replace us. We still want to be the author. Now, this will still be useful for everyone, for every cohort. So whether you're a student, a teacher, or a healthcare professional, writing is something that we all have to do. It could be in the form of some assignments. It could be in the form of some report, emails that we send. It could be in the form of information leaflets that we have to write up regarding some disease. So the idea is simple here. We want AI to help us take our rough ideas and gradually turn them into clear, polished text while we stay in control along the way. Now, I like to think of writing as a funnel. So even if you're not using AI, this is something of a structure that we'd be following. So at the top, we start with our thoughts. What do we want to write about? Let's say if I want to write about the use of AI in education, I would like to brainstorm first about things that I want to discuss. Now, initially, the brainstorming aspect that I would have, these would be rough ideas, right? They would not be organized. As I think about them more, I may have new ideas, but they would still be unstructured. And this is how we all think. The next step would be to structure our ideas. Then we can look into whether the structure that we have, is it clear? Would it be readable for everyone? And then we also need to look at the tone in which we are writing things up. For example, if you're writing things, if you're writing an article for undergraduate students, it would have a different tone to what we would write for high school students. Similarly, for patients, the language of communication would be different as opposed to fellow healthcare professionals. So, tone is something that we need to be mindful about. And it's not that right from the onset you would like to think about tone. Uh, it's like a sequence that you need to follow. And finally, we'd like to polish the write-up that we've done. Now, what AI does really well is that it can assist us with each of these stages. We can do it ourselves, which should be the first thing you do, but then we can leverage AI in order to improve every aspect of our writing on the basis of this funnel-based structure. So let's look into this now. Now, often good write-ups start with brainstorming. If you've done brainstorming really well, more often than not, the end product is very good. And often this is the stage where most people struggle. So AI could be quite useful when we're facing something like writer's block, or we don't really know where to begin. Sometimes we know where to begin, but we have too many ideas to have a concrete structure for us. So we can use AI to explore how a topic can be approached, to think about the audience, or to simply get some ideas flowing. So this is especially useful when we know what we want to write about, but we're not really sure how to frame it or where to start. So for this, let's just go to ChatGPT. And like I said, in this example, I'm going to use ChatGPT, but you're welcome to use Gemini as well. Any chat assistant works for this, essentially. Right. So let's see this in action with ChatGPT. And what the focus would be on is I'm not going to use ChatGPT to write for me. I'm just going to use it to help me think. So I know what I want to write about. I want to write about the use of AI in education. So let's say I need to write about AI in education. Now, of course, last week we saw that prompts could be structured in a better way, but let's say this is one I want to write about. Now, it is possible that AI thinks that I want it to actually write the content for me, but of course, that's not what we want to do. The goal is brainstorming. So just as last week, we need to prompt better. So rather than just saying I need to write about AI in education, let me improve the prompt. Let me say I need to write a 500-word article on AI in education for undergraduate students. Suggest possible topics. So what it does now is instead of just writing the structure, writing the content as well, it's now providing me some points that I could talk about. So for example, it suggests, how about I focus on personalized learning through AI or AI as a teaching assistant? And the second one is like, it's posing a question. So the article could be, should be supported? Is it going to replace it? And then ethical concerns of AI in education. So what I'm using here is using the AI as a brainstorming assistant, not really as a writer. And this is something that is really important to understand, that AI is not a replacement for authorship of human beings. It is a brainstorming assistant. Now, there could be various ways that we think about it. For example, I want to look into what angles I could approach. I mean, it's given me already 12 angles, but maybe I have some other ideas. How about we say for the topic AI in education suggest angles. It depends, I mean, whether you call it angle or perspectives. Uh, from And here's where our intuition comes in. What could be the perspectives that AI could impact education in? So the first one is technical. I mean, what are the tools? How well do they work? So that's the first perspective that we can uh, take up. Another one could be social perspective. How acceptable is it? Are people okay with using AI in education? How open are they? Another perspective could be the ethical aspect. Is it really ethical? What are the ethical considerations that one needs to be mindful about when AI is used in education? There would be some people who may want to just present AI-based content as their own. So there are ethical considerations that need to be developed if they're not already there. And another perspective could be practical, right? Practical perspective. How practical is it? Does everyone has access to the same AI resources? Because if AI has to be used in education, it needs to be used in an equitable manner. So if we have some ideas, we can actually ask AI to propose aspects, propose us points from these perspectives. So in this case, we would have some angles that we can approach. So from a technical perspective, uh, it could be in the form of different tools that are available, like natural language processing. Would AI in education be used in terms of an LMS that leverages AI? From social perspective, we can write about how it changes the role of teacher. How would it impact student learning behavior? Does the student just ask, for example, questions in class, or does the student ask questions from AI? So the idea is that by prompting AI, we're again not asking it to write things up for us, but now we're asking it to propose us themes on which we can write an article about AI in education. And if you think there could be other perspectives, so in this case, we provided it 4 perspectives, but we can also ask it, uh, can you propose additional themes which that I haven't discussed? So in this way, you can have more talking points, and then you can decide which talking points you want to go for. Some of these may be outside of the scope of the article that you're writing, but it is always useful to have a larger brainstorming perspective. And from those, you can think about the aspects that you want to talk about. Now, beyond this, it's also possible that we simply have a writer's block, right? We don't really know whether we have these 4 ideas, and we simply have a writer's block. So in this case, we can again use AI to kind of alleviate the writer's block. We can write something like I'm stuck and don't know where to start. And let's say turn this topic into bullet points that I can think over. Now, the reason why we specifically go for bullet points is because reading bullet points has a lower cognitive load. And this is especially useful when we're having writer's block. So here's what we have as output. So we can talk about in terms of universities, for example, creating AI policies. One aspect that we can go for is AI helping or disrupting learning today. So that could be the theme of the article that we go for. Another one could be, for example, should we be optimistic about the use of AI in education? Should we be critical? Should we be balanced? And whilst talking about those, we can argue about academic honesty or lack of honesty, especially when, for example, there is a possibility that students are submitting AI generated work. It could be the over reliance on AI, or it could be that AI can be used in education, but there's a risk that it reduces critical thinking, which is actually the goal of write up in education. So the idea is that we can leverage AI to think about the points that we may not be thinking about inherently. Now, it's possible that we have too many points, but that's where human judgment comes in. You need to review those uh, aspects that AI has suggested, and on the basis of those, decide which you want to take and which you want to ignore. Now, another way to approach this, especially if we want AI to probe us, is by writing something like this. So I know I want to write an article uh, about AI in education. How about we flip the scenario? We ask AI to ask me 5 questions to clarify my brainstorming. So in this case, rather than asking AI to generate themes for us, uh, we want AI to ask us questions, and in that way, we can answer them, and we're kind of refining our train of thought. So this would eventually help us improve what we want to write about. Because, like I said, it's quite important. In fact, the first stage of having a good write up is to have a good brainstorming session. Now, it's also possible that we are brainstorming from an audience perspective. So, for example, the same topic of AI in education could mean different things from different cohorts. So, for example, it could be that how can AI be used in clinical training for healthcare professionals? What are the possible themes that one can talk about? So, the context of the use of AI for students and for professionals would be very different. So, we need to be aware of the audience that we're writing the article for. So, from a clinical training perspective, perhaps there's not really a concern about academic dishonesty. It's more about communication. How well can we communicate with the audience, which in that case could be patients, they could be fellow healthcare professionals. So we can use AI to generate ideas on the basis of the audience that we are actually targeting. Now let's go for the next part. So if we have a brainstorming session done, what's next? And the next part is structuring the brainstorming part, structuring the write up. So once we have ideas, the next challenge, of course, is structure. Now, good writing isn't just about good sentences. A logical flow is actually quite important because it is about conveying our train of thought to others, and that's what would make a great writing. AI can help us turn our scattered points that we had before into an outline and organized sections. And if we have an outline available with us, we can begin to logically analyze it if it makes sense or if further improvements are necessary. So let's go ahead and try that out. So we can continue with this or we can create a new chat. But let's say I have some rough ideas for a write-up on AI in education. And what could those be? Let's say AI can help students learn. From a teacher's perspective, it can save time. If it's a repetitive work, it could be saving time for teachers. But there are some concerns as well. So let's say there are concerns about cheating. Uh, there could be some ethical issues. And how about future impact? So in this case, we already have some brainstorming ideas from all those ideas that we had generated earlier. Let's say we are shortlisting these. That's very good. But what would really make us be more efficient at writing is if the AI can create an outline for us. So sections, subsections, etc. So let's say turn these ideas into clear outlines with heading and subheading. So what it does now is that it will generate sections for us. Now, again, we're not asking AI to generate the entire content, but we're asking AI to generate a structure which we can then fill in. We can provide our perspective, we can write as per the structure. So the structure that it has gone for is introduction, AI as a tool to enhance students' learning, and then it has subheadings as well. The third section is using AI as a time-saving resource for teachers. Of course, this was a point or an idea that we had provided it. So the idea is that we can use AI to generate a structure, and we can then provide it feedback as well. So for example, if AI provides us something, and we learned this from prompting session last week, is that we don't really need to trust or accept the output that AI provides us at the first instance. So we can be critical to the AI. We can say, is there anything missing or underdeveloped in the structure proposed by you? We can also add, is there a logical flow to it? So what we're doing now is that AI generated for us a structure, and we are essentially asking it to sanity check it. So it would provide its assessment. Is there a logical flow? It says, yes, there is a clear logical progression. And of course, you should review these. What is underdeveloped? It says that the outline implies balance, but it doesn't clearly answer, is AI ultimately transforming education positively, cautiously, or destructively? So perhaps that is something that you may want to focus on. It also identifies structural issues, and it would provide you additional feedback as well. Now, it's not necessary for us to strictly follow the feedback that AI provided, but it sort of does a self-critique of the structure that was proposed to us. And as always, we can review it and accept it or reject it. It just depends on how we want to proceed with it. Now, such type of writing may be more useful for students, but we can also think of applications where teachers use it. So what teachers would have is a lesson plan outline for the course. And what they can do is to say, for example, restructure the discussion into a lesson plan. So for example, if a teacher has to teach about AI in education, they can come up with a lesson plan for it. So it would have learning objective, it would have introduction, it would basically create compartments for how a particular topic would be taught. So, and again, like we did before, we can prompt it to make it suitable for audience, if it's high school students, if it's college students or university students. Now, from a healthcare perspective, we can craft another prompt. We can say that structure the topic, and I'll try to write up a topic that may be more suited for healthcare. AI assisted tools in learning and clinical training for medical education. So based on what we want to go for, what our audience is, we can actually ask the AI to create a structure that suits that particular cohort. And it's very important because at the end of the day, a good write-up has to be adjusted for the audience that we're working with. So once we have completed the brainstorming, once we have structured the write-up, the next part is readability and the clarity of what is written up. So what I'm expecting is that you have the structure, you filled it in with what you want to write. The next step is it's also possible for us to provide that content to AI and ask us to provide us feedback, constructive feedback regarding its clarity and readability. Now, this sort of depends on the institutional policy as well, whether you are permitted to provide your written content to the AI. But it's actually going to be quite useful. So for example, we can provide the content to the AI and just ask, are the ideas easier to follow? Is there something that AI provides us so that we can change any part of the content? We can also ask the AI to propose simplification of content without dumbing it down. So we still want to communicate the message, but we want it to be simplified. And any parts which are unclear, they should be highlighted. Especially when we are communicating information, not from a student perspective, but from a healthcare perspective. If we have to create a leaflet about a disease, then we may want to sanity check with the AI whether the information that we created is clear, it does not cause unnecessary panic. In that sense, we can prompt the AI to help us do that. And now for tone and voice control. There's always a target audience that we are writing for. I mean, like they say, one size doesn't fit all. So depending on the audience, which can be students, teacher, patients, workplace colleagues, write-up on the same topic can be presented in a variety of ways. And when we can use AI to do that. So we can ask the AI through a prompt to sanity check the tone to see whether it is indeed appropriate for our audience. If required, we can prompt AI to provide constructive feedback, and we can then make the adjustments accordingly. So what I'd like you to do is whatever content you're working with, try to provide it to AI and see what type of feedback it provides you. The final part is the styling part. And at this point, we are going to use AI as an editor. And this is something that we use on a daily basis. So tools such as Microsoft Word, or for example, if we install Grammarly, they already provide us the ability to fix grammar. Now, of course, the goal is not just to fix grammar, but to also improve the consistency and to smooth out any awkward phrasing that we may have. This is particularly useful if English is not our native language. But it's also important to recognize here is you would have noticed that human judgment is actually quite critical over here. So think of it as autocorrect that proposes to replace the name by another word or term that it is familiar with. So it's important to remember, especially in the case of grammar, is that while AI can suggest changes, the human being needs to be the one to accept or modify what the recommendations are from the AI. Now, as we conclude this, it's really important for us to recognize the core philosophy of using AI in a responsible manner. So what we say is AI assists and human beings decide. You don't have to accept everything that AI suggests. You can accept selectively, reject confidently, and you need to edit intentionally. So whatever draft that AI provides us, you need to be the one who gets to decide whether it is accepted or it requires modification. Because the best results come when AI and human judgment works together. Now, the key takeaways from this session are to improve writing in layers, because that's how we think as human beings when we are not using AI. So use AI from a structure of brainstorming. Use AI to structure the output from brainstorming. Use AI to probe whether the article that we've written, whether it is clear, whether it has any aspect which is self-contradictory. Use AI to improve the tone, whether it suits the audience that you're going for. So in those last two cases, we are basically just using it as a sanity checker, as our assistants whose job it is to provide constructive feedback. And the final layer is, of course, fixing the grammar. Now, it is essential to know that AI here is supporting our thinking. It's not replacing it. And this is especially useful for students. One of the goals of writing is to enhance your intellectual capabilities. So don't go and use AI in the first onset, but you can use it once you have something in place. Now, just like last week, better prompts would lead to better drafts. Do not accept the first output from the AI. Critique the output from the AI so that it can improve itself. Do remember that you will own the final text. So we can ask AI, for example, to generate an information leaflet. At the end of the day, the responsibility of the quality as well as the accuracy of the information within that leaflet would depend on the human user. So that's it regarding the session, at least the part where I'm talking. And now I think we are happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Zafi, for the insightful examples and practical demonstration. Now, moving on to the Q&A segment, I would like to uh, encourage participants to write down your comments, or if you wish to speak, just unmute yourself. There we go. So thanks, Vicky, for your participation. The question from Vicky is, do you have any tools for streamlined methods for fact-checking AI prompts in regards to essay writing?
So generally speaking, the AI that are available these days, newer models with Gemini and ChatGPT are actually quite good at understanding what the user requires. I would suggest just go for vanilla prompts. I mean, they are able to understand what we require as long as we provide structured instructions in prompts. If you were there last week, this is what we talked about. Provide enough information in the prompt so that AI know what you require and it will answer you accordingly. The second suggestion would be that in the case of essay writing, go for the layered approach. Do not ask everything in the same prompt. First, focus on brainstorming, decide yourself which ideas from brainstorming you want to go forward with, and take those ideas for the next part, which is like structure, generating structure. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Zafi. And as we are moving to the end of this session, I would like to request all participants to please turn on your camera for a quick group photo. We will give everyone a few seconds. Please make yourself comfortable. I can see a lot of participants. Anchal Pandey, if you can turn on your camera. Thank you so much. So here we go. Everyone, cheese. Thank you so much. So thank you so much, everyone. Uh, Today has been a very great session, and we'll be having another last session on 22nd of February, the next Sunday. Until then, have a nice day. Thank you, Dr. Zafi, and thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much. Bye, everyone. Have a
Bye,
wonderful
Bye.
day.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very
Bye
much.
bye.
Bye.